Krystal Everdeen, and today I'm going to show you how I crocheted my Santa Baby crochet top. And I called it Santa Baby because it reminds me of the outfits that the main characters wore in Mean Girls during their talent show or like Christmas show, whatever that was. But anywho, you're going to need some red yarn. This is 100% acrylic red yarn from the brand Red Heart. It is size 4. And some white fluffy yarn, well, preferably fluffy. You could just use regular white yarn, but I found this squishy, fluffy white yarn that I don't remember getting, or where this is originally from. I don't remember buying like the full skein of it. But this was, you know, in my yarn drawer, so I figured that I should make a Christmas-inspired top with it. Hopefully that's enough, but we're gonna make it work. Anywho, those are the 2 colors you need, and I'm using a size 5mm hook for this project. Alrighty then, let's get started. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is grab your red yarn, and after you've made that slip stitch, you're going to put your hook in it, and you're going to chain 10 chains. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And if you're wondering, we are going to make the 2 cups first, and then we're going to do the rest of the top. And after you have created that chain, you're going to go back on it with a single crochet. And if you are unfamiliar with single crochet, it is putting your hook through the stitch, then yarning over, then bringing it back through the stitch, then yarning over once again, and bringing it through the last 2 loops on your hook. Again, it is through the stitch, and then yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over, and through the last 2 loops. And one more time, through the stitch, yarn over, back through the stitch, yarn over, and through the last 2 loops. Now, if you are unfamiliar with this stitch, you may be a beginner to crochet, and if you are, then that's totally okay. Just know that this tutorial is going to be pretty fast for you. So I highly recommend that you check out my Crochet for Beginners video. That will be linked in the description box below, as well as some more beginner friendly videos that you could practice on first, and then come back to this one. Alrighty then, so I have single crocheted my way down the chain, and I have made sure to go into the very last stitch. Now I'm going to chain 1, flip the project over, go into the very first stitch of the new row, and then continue single crocheting my way over to the other side as you normally would any other rectangular project. But because we are working on the cup here, then we're actually going to start working on this vertically instead of horizontally. And if you're not really sure what I mean by that, I'm going to show you in just 1 second. So again, I'm going to make sure that I go into the very last stitch of the row, and then instead of working horizontally, again going this way and back and forth, making a square project, we're actually going to flip it this way and make a point here, then crochet our way down, back up, down, back up, so on and so forth, and actually make a triangular shape. So from here, we're going to go into this middle stitch, and we're going to single crochet 3 stitches into that same middle stitch. So that was 1, 2, and same middle stitch, 1 last single crochet. So there's 3 single crochets in that 1 stitch right here in the middle. So now we're going to single crochet our way down over here, making sure that we go into all of the stitches, including the very, very last stitch. A lot of people have trouble making the cups because it seems to curve on them, and that's probably either because they are not going into the very last stitch of each row, or they are not chaining 1 at the end of each row, or they are not going into the very first stitch of the new row. So again, I reached the end of the row here, made sure to go into the very last stitch. I am now going to chain 1, flip the project over, go into the very first stitch right here, and start my new row, making my way over to where we're going to make our 3 single crochets. And again, because I chained 1 and went into the very first stitch of the new row, the bottom of my cup is going to be flat. A lot of people have a problem where it curves in, and again, it's one of those 3 options I mentioned earlier. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, and if it's not, then I honestly have no idea why your cup would be curving. And speaking of cups, again, I know that this tutorial is going very, very fast, but I do have a how to crochet cup for beginners as well that breaks everything down very, very slowly. So it's nice and easy to follow for beginners if you've never made a cup before. So yeah, so I just made my 3 single crochets inside of the middle stitch, and now I'm going to crochet my way down to the other side. So again, I'm just going to single crochet my way down to the opposite side of this cup, making sure that I go into every single stitch. And once I reach the very end of the row, I'm going to make sure that I go into the very last stitch of that row as well. And then I'm going to chain 1, flip the project over, go into the very first stitch here, then continue on with my row of single crochet until I reach the point. And once I reach the point, I'm going to find that middle stitch and create 3 single crochets inside of 1 stitch, that 1 middle stitch. So here I am approaching that middle stitch. This is the middle stitch right here. So I'm going to create 1, 2, and 3 single crochets inside of that 1 stitch, and then just continue on to the other side and repeat this process over and over again until your project gets wider and wider, and then when you put it against yourself, it covers you fully. So yeah, again, it depends on your size and preference, how many of these rows you're going to make. So just continue making it until it's wide enough so that when you put it against yourself, you're happy with the coverage. And yeah, so once you continue with that pattern over and over again, your cup should look something like this. And since I am smaller chested, I am already done with my cup. So when you are done, you're going to actually cut the yarn from the yarn ball and then do the exact same thing all over again, because you're going to need 2 cups. And of course you're going to want them to be the same size as well. So yeah, just do the exact same thing. And once you have completed both cups, then we can move on to the bottom portion of the top. We're actually going to add the white in at the very end, just like as the finishing touch. Right now we're just going to work on the base of the top and then add the details in later, just so you know. And yeah, so since I've already made my second top, or rather my second cup, I'm going to not detach the yarn from the yarn ball from my second cup. And then I'm actually going to put my hook in through where I detached the yarn from the yarn ball on my first cup, and then attach them together so that they do not separate. And then from here, I'm going to pick a side and slip stitch my way over to the opposite side of 1 cup. And then from there, we're going to work on the part of the top that covers your torso. So yeah, I'm just going to slip stitch my way over to the other side of this cup. And once I am there, I'm going to show you what's next. But yeah, I'm just going to slip stitch my way over. And if you don't know what a slip stitch is, pretty much all I'm doing is sticking my hook through wherever it fits, and then I am yarning over, bringing it back through the stitch, and then through the last loop. So it's like less than a single crochet. So yeah, through the stitch, yarn over, back through a stitch, and then through the loop on your hook. And I'm almost towards the end here. So once I reach the very end, I'm going to make sure I'm at the very, very, very last stitch. And it should look something like this. So from here, I'm going to make a chain that's going to make the portion of the top that's going to wrap around my torso and like a little bit of my back. So I already know that I need to chain 15 chains because that's how many chains I need in order for it to fit the way I want it to. basically from here to here. For me, it's 15 chains, but of course for you it might be something different. So just make as many chains as you need to properly cover, again, from here to here, 14 and 15. So again, for me, it's 15 chains, and the project should look something like this. And just to recap, we made one cup, and then we made a second cup, and then we attached the two, and then we slip stitched our way over to the corner here, and then we chained 15, or more or less 15, or however many you need in order for you to be happy with the coverage. And after that, now we're going to go back on it with a single crochet, and then after you've chained that chain, you're going to go back on it with a single crochet. So again, you're just going to put your hook through the stitch, and then you're going to yarn over, bring it back through the stitch, yarn over, and then through the last two loops. Through the stitch, yarn over, back through a stitch, yarn over, through the last two loops. And you're just going to continue doing that nice and easily on the chain. And then once you reach the end of the chain here, you're actually going to continue doing the single crochet all along the bottom of the cup as well. And it is a little bit more difficult the first time you do it because there's no like set stitches that you can go into. You're just going to have to go into any random stitch you can go into. So this is what it looks like once you go across the chain that you created. This is going to be the part that wraps around your torso and a little bit of your back. And then there's going to be a little bit of space in between this side and the other side, and that's where we're going to make the little like corset design. But that's getting a little bit too ahead of myself. So again, from here you're just going to continue making single crochets on the bottom of the cup. So you have a better idea of where we are here. We're going to work our way all across the bottom of the cup. Make sure that they're actually aligned. You don't want it to be all messed up. Make sure that these are actually aligned and you don't accidentally crochet on top of it like this, because there have been a couple times where I caught myself doing that. I'm like, oops, now I have to unravel it and then start over again. But yeah, so we're going to single crochet our way across over here and then do the exact same thing on the other side. So I'm going to chain 15 once I get here, and I will meet you when I get there, because again, this is going to be a little bit tedious because I kind of just have to find my own way, and there's no like set stitches to go into. Yeah, I just pretty much go into any stitch that I could find to try to be as close as possible, because it will be more cohesive that way. And see, if I already got my hook stuck somehow, but I'm still going to make a single crochet out of it somehow. So yeah, this is what the bottom of the cup looks like after I make a single crochet on top of it, and this is what it looks like before. So it's like all jagged and stuff because there's no set stitches to go into. But then once you make this first row of single crochet, then every other row of single crochet that you create on top of it will be much easier because there'll be a stitch to go into. Alrighty, another thing I wanted to mention really quick is I'm approaching the middle of the two cups where we attached it, and it's a little bit too far away for me. I kind of want to bring them closer, so instead of going into like this stitch right here, I'm going to reach on over to the corner of the second cup, and I'm just going to slip stitch them together even closer. See, now there's less of a gap. Again, I wanted to do this because I have a smaller chest and I don't have much to show, so these cups need to be closer together. So if you had the same problem or were wondering how you could fix it, that's all you have to do. You just have to reach on over to the other side and slip stitch them together, and you're set. Alrighty then, we are almost at the end. We're actually at the end right now. So I went to the very last stitch, and now that I am here, I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did on this side, which was create 15 chains. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And then from here, I'm going to single crochet on top of it and then go all across the top to the other side, then chain 1 and single crochet on top of that, and then just keep making rows and rows of single crochet until this portion is wide enough to properly cover your torso. So if you want this to be a bikini top, then pretty much you're practically done with it. Then you could skip the rest of those rows of single crochet, and then you could just go to where I add this part. But if you want this to be more of a crop top and maybe just cover your ribs, then you make rows and rows of single crochet until you put it against yourself as if you're going to wear it, and it barely covers your ribs. And if you want it to be a longer crop top, then you just keep going, just make more and more rows of single crochet. So it's all up to you. It could be really short, it could be literally a bikini top, or it could be a crop top, or it could be a full top. Totally up to you. And hey, if you have enough yarn, you could even make this into a dress, which I'm probably going to make next Christmas. I don't have enough yarn this Christmas, but yeah, that sounds like a really fun project. Anywho, back to the top though. I'm going to go back on the chain I just created with a single crochet, and then once I've gone all along the chain that I just created, I'm going to reach the bottom of the cup here, and this is what the project looks like so far. And now I'm just going to continue single crocheting down the bottom of the 2 cups to the other side, and then I'm going to chain 1. It's not in focus, what's going on here? And then I'm going to chain 1, and then single crochet my way over to the other side until I reach the very end. Then I'm going to chain 1 and then single crochet my way all across to the other side. It's like making weird shapes. But anywho, yeah, just keep going back and forth. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until this section is wide enough to cover your torso. And again, it totally depends on your preference. If you want this to be a full top, this is going to be nice and wide. And if you want this to be a crop top, then it's going to be less. So the number of total rows does depend on you. So whatever you want. I'm just going to continue on and make some more and more rows of single crochet. I wanted mine to be a crop top, but like a longer kind of crop top. The one that reaches to my belly button. So I am just going to continue making rows and rows of single crochet until I put the project against my body and I'm happy with the coverage. That's pretty much all you have to do. Make sure that every time you reach the end of the row here, you're going to the very last stitch, and then you chain 1, flip the project over, and go into the first stitch of the next row. And the reason this is very important is because you want to keep that edging nice and straight here. You don't want it to curve in. So that's why it's necessary for you to make sure that you go into the very last stitch of each row. Then you chain 1, flip the project over, and go into the very first stitch of the new row. And that will keep everything nice and even. And yeah, I'll check in with you once I have completed a bit more rows of single crochet. So finally, a number of rows later, I'm satisfied with the length of the torso portion of the top. We're actually going to add some of the white trim now, so it's going to get a little bit longer and hopefully reach my belly button. When I put it against myself, it's kind of above my belly button, but I think that once I add a row of 2 of the fluffy white yarn, that it'll be the perfect length. So from here, I'm just going to detach the yarn from the yarn ball after, just pretend I already did. But I'm going to now attach the fluffy white yarn. And this is how I attach a new color of yarn. I just pretty much put it on the hook and then put it through the last loop that was left over. And then I just continue crocheting as if I never even changed the color. I feel like if I go through every single stitch, it's too close together, so I think I'm actually going to undo what I just did, and I'm going to go into every other stitch, just because this yarn is so fluffy. So I think I could skip a stitch, and then make a single crochet with this fluffy yarn, and I think that would actually look better. Yeah, I think that's better than going into every single stitch. Look how close these two are. And it looks better with a bit of a gap in between. But it's totally up to you. You can go into every single stitch if you want to. Or you could skip a stitch like me. And yeah, this is what it will look like. It just has like a little trim of fluffy white. And again, I have no idea where this fluffy white yarn came from or like what brand it is. or like, yeah, where I got it from. So hopefully you can go to your local craft store, or maybe like a Walmart or a Target, and find some on there as well, or maybe even Amazon. Sometimes I see a good selection of yarn from Amazon, so maybe that will be an option for you. Especially nowadays in 2020, where you don't even know if the store is going to be open. So, anywho, I'm just going to continue all along the bottom of the top here, adding my layer of, or rather my row of fluffy white yarn using a single crochet. So now that I've gone all along the bottom of the top, I cut the yarn from the yarn ball, and now I'm going to finish off the bottom of the project here by bringing the excess yarn through the last loop and giving it a tug, and then I'm going to cut off the excess yarn later. But now we're on to the final touches. So I really love the way that this looks, and I really love the contrast between like the not as soft red yarn and then the super fluffy white thick squishy yarn at the bottom. So I'm not exactly sure if I have enough yarn to do the whole top part white, but I'm going to try it, and if it ends up that I actually don't have enough to do the whole thing, then I'm thinking I'm just going to add the white in the middle portion. I think that will still look cute, but here we go. I'm going to attempt making a row of white all along both of the cups here. So again, I'm just going to attach it the same way as before, but this time I'm going to attach it right here in the corner of the cup. I'm just going to go through the stitch I want to start at. I'm going to bring the yarn onto the hook and then through the stitch, and I should have a loop right here with the excess yarn on one side and then the yarn that's attached to the yarn ball on the other side. And then I'm going to go into the next stitch and then grab the yarn that's attached to the yarn ball, put it over my hook, and then just crochet with it as I normally would. And I really like the way that it turned out right here, where I skipped every other stitch. Or I skipped every stitch? No, yeah, I skipped every other stitch. So I'm just going to continue that here. So I'm just going to skip a stitch and then single crochet and then skip a stitch and then single crochet into the next one, and then skip a stitch and single crochet into the next one, and so on and so forth. Now, because I have less white fluffy yarn than I thought I was going to end up with, I'm actually not going to make the straps right now. I'm going to first finish up the white trim, and then I'm going to add the straps afterwards, and I'm just going to add probably red straps, so I'm just going to add them later. I was going to explain it to you right now, but you don't need to know. So yeah, I'm just going to finish up this side. Oh, it looks so pretty! And now I'm going to move on to the other side, and again, hopefully I have enough yarn, but if I don't make it, I'm just going to have to unravel it and then just do this middle portion of both of the cups. And again, I think it'll still look cute, but I really want to see if I have enough to make it across both cups. But I guess we're just gonna have to see. Ooh, it's running really low. Doesn't really look promising, so that's okay. We have a plan B. This is what it looks like with one full cup covered with the white trim. Oh, it looks super adorable. I actually really like it. Oh, it's so cute. But look at how much yarn we have left. I mean, maybe we can make it. You know what? I think we can make it. So let's give it a try. Alrighty, so from here, it's always a little bit tricky when you're doing a row on top of these two cups right here. So I go into the very middle in between the two cups and I create a stitch, and then I skip a stitch, and then I go on to the other cup, and then I make a single crochet, skip a stitch, and then make a single crochet, skip a stitch, 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 single crochet. I can feel any moment now I'm going to run out of yarn. Actually, there's still a little bit of a ball. There's a chance. Okay, now I'm reaching the point right here. I'm just going to create a stitch on the point, then go on to the next stitch, then skip a stitch, and create a single crochet, skip a stitch, single crochet, skip a stitch, single crochet. Only a couple more single crochets to go. I think we're gonna make it. Yay! Ooh, it's starting to curve a little bit, so I gotta stretch it out. And then create the last couple of single crochets, and yes, I think we definitely have enough yarn to barely make it. Yay! So just one last single crochet right here on the very end of the cup, and this is how much yarn we have left. We actually barely made it, but hey, we made it, and I am pumped for that because look at how cute this looks. Oh my gosh, I actually really love the way that this looks. If I had more white, I probably would have like lined the entire thing, but I literally do not have enough at all. But that is so cute. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to get more of this fluffy yarn and then just like experiment with different colors, because I really like the combination of like the regular normal yarn mixed with like fuzzy fluffy yarn. That's so cute. I love the way that it feels too, like the texture is fun. Anywho, so now we're going to work on the straps. So I'm just going to cut the yarn from the yarn ball here, and then grab my hook, bring the excess yarn through the last loop, give it a tug, and then that seals that portion of the project. I'm going to cut all these extra strings at the end of the video, so just so you know, that's what I normally do. Anywho, back to the strap. I'm going to grab the red yarn again, and I'm going to attach it to the very top of the cup, and I'm going to bring the yarn through with my hook, and then I'm going to chain a very long chain, because not only is this going to serve as the neck strap, but it's also going to serve as the back straps as well, that we're going to make into like a corset design. So I normally chain about 150 chains, but you may have to do some trial and error with figuring out how many chains you need to do if you are like taller than me or smaller than me, or yeah, you just have a bit different body type or preference. Then just trial and error, figure out how many chains you need in order to be able to reach across your back, and then crisscross for the corset design. And yeah, but again, I'm just going to crochet at 150 chains. And after I'm done with the 150 chains, I'm going to go back on it with a slip stitch. And I like doing this because it makes the chain a little bit thicker. That way the strap doesn't like dig into your skin, because I noticed that if you make a strap that's just a chain, like one, it's not that sturdy, and then two, it digs into your skin and it hurts. So I like going back on it with a slip stitch just to make it a little bit thicker. But this step is totally optional if you don't want to do this or you don't have enough yarn. But yeah, I'm just going to go back on it with a slip stitch. And then once I reach the bottom, I'm going to detach the yarn from the yarn ball and then reattach it to the other cup right here. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to chain 150 chains and then go back on it with a slip stitch. And then after that, you're completely done with the crocheting portion of the top, and then all we have to do is make the corset design on the back with the straps, and then we're completely done with the top. So now that I've crocheted both straps, again 150 chains, and then I went back on them with a slip stitch to make them a little thicker, I am now going to make the corset design. So you just flip the project over to the back, and then you're going to grab one strap from one side, and you bring it over to the opposite side and attach it to the top portion of the bottom portion of the top. And then you're going to bring that same strap across to the opposite side again and attach it to the middle portion of the bottom portion of the top. And then you're going to reach it on over to the opposite side one last time and attach it to the bottom portion of the top. And once you've done that, then you're going to do the exact same thing but with the other strap. So I'm going to grab this strap and then bring it over to the opposite side and attach it to the top portion of the bottom portion of the top. And bring it on through with my hook, And then I'm going to reach it over to the opposite side again and attach it to the middle portion of the bottom portion of the top. And then I'm going to put it on my hook, bring it on over, and then after I've attached it to the middle portion of that side, I'm going to bring it over to the opposite side one last time and attach it to the bottom portion of the top. So I think I'm going to attach it right above where the white is. So after I've attached this last piece, then you have this kind of corset design where you could make it tighter or looser and tie it in the back to secure it. And after you've done that, then you're completely done with the top. Well, besides like cutting off any excess strings and stuff, but pretty much now you are completely done with the top. And now you can go ahead and style it and enjoy your new Christmas themed crochet top. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, found it interesting, entertaining, or helpful, please give it a big thumbs up before you go. And if this video was a little bit too fast for you, you can always pause and rewind the video as many times as you like. And there's also an option for you to slow down the video if, again, it is too fast for you. And finally, you can always check out my more beginner-friendly tutorials on my channel. Just go to my page and search crochet for beginners, and you'll definitely find it. And you'll also find some crocheting for beginners links in the description box below as well. So yeah, thank you so much again for watching. Don't forget to click that red subscribe button if you have not already, so I can see you next time. Bye! Happy holidays and have a magical day.